All right. Good morning, everybody. Woo! Got the music pumping. We are excited. Hey, welcome to Hot Off the Press. I'm Randy Rohde, and with me, live and in person, Honey Witcher. Honey, I don't
Hello.
know what was that big jug you were drinking there. That was something.
Oh, this is my tea.
Oh, just tea. Okay,
It's
because
just tea.
I didn't know
It
what you
does
had.
look like a dark beer.
All right. Hey, welcome to Hot Off the Press. Appreciate you jumping on. Uh, Looking forward to spending an hour with you and picking your brain and all of that fun stuff. I'm going to remind the folks, please like, subscribe, follow, depending upon whatever platform you're on. Would certainly appreciate it. And we've got the chat is open. So if you have some questions that pop up, as Honey is telling us about some really cool stuff, drop it into the chat would be great. Or you can just say hi as well, which is always fun. So, Honey, I'm trying to recall actually the first time, I think when we met, and I'm going to, whether this is completely accurate or not, I'm old and so I forget stuff, but I think that we actually met at a conference, SEO Rockstars in Dallas, like maybe 2 years ago. I'm guessing that's our first like howdy, but
That would have been the first one. That was the first conference that I spoke at
yeah,
2022.
yeah. Hey, Pamela, good to have you on. Thank you. Yeah, so, and here we are. I've seen you a few times now present at conferences. So, do you like doing that? Like presenting?
I do. I like sharing information,
Yeah.
with people. Lee thinks I share too much, you know. I'm surprised he's not in here like waving hand signals like stop talking about that. But,
Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
downstairs taking care of some business. We commonly share an office.
Yeah, there you
So
go.
I kicked him out. I was like, "You have to get out of here."
Yeah, nice. And for those of you who don't know, Honey is married to Lee Witcher. We
Mhm.
had Lee on the show about a month or so ago, and it was then that I like secured Honey. I'm like, Honey, you're just as good and better looking than Lee. So I think
Oh,
you might
no.
you might pull in a few more people than Lee did. Uh, So, hey, tell us about your journey into SEO because you absolutely do not have a conventional story, is what I
I do
will say.
not.
And I think it's really is fascinating. So, well, I'm just going to turn it over to you. You just like tell us
Okay,
your life as much as you want, I guess.
okay. So, Lee and I have been married for almost 8 years now. So
Uh, mm,
we're,
wow.
still early in our journey together. And when we met, he was actually a business coach. He was my business coach, is how we met. And,
Isn't there like some kind of ethical laws about that?
there may be the funny actually, the funniest story about that is that he helped me write my dating profile on Match.com because, I
That's
would
what a
go on
business
these
coach does?
he felt sorry for me because I kept going out on all these dates, and it'd be like a one date and over, one date and
Oh,
over.
that's funny.
And
That is
I
funny.
was running my own company, and I was really busy, and I had a construction company. And at that time, I was doing remodels, and I was just starting to get into doing new home builds. And so that's mostly what we were working on is scaling up
Mm.
my business and that kind of stuff. And sort of on the side, I was trying to date. And he just got tired of hearing these failed dating stories, and he was like, what are you looking for?" You know? And so where's the breakdown, you know, happening? And so he helped me write uh, my dating profile, and I started going on what I call these 15-minute coffee dates. Like,
Uh-huh.
I didn't go on, like, these full-blown dates, I didn't have
Yeah,
time.
Yeah.
And so I would back these guys up back to back, you know, about 30 minutes apart as I was like running through them on like one day a week. And I was like, let's just meet at Starbucks for a coffee and
Yeah.
you got 15 minutes and if
Yeah.
I like
Yeah.
you, then we'll
Yeah.
go on a second date and
It's
if
kinda like
not,
your
then
own version of speed dating, so
oh,
and
it was.
then did Lee, like, just pop into one of the vacant spots, on your
Well,
calendar?
no, he didn't. I mean, I Lee was never somebody that I considered ever dating. He was never someone I considered to be my type, like, or anything. So the fact that we got married is just it's pretty
That's
amazing,
funny.
really,
Yeah,
because
that's
he's not
good.
like any guy I ever dated,
Yeah.
and, which is probably the reason why I had so many failed
Well,
failed
sure,
dates,
sure.
and, but kinda towards the end of my dating journey, I had this, like, really horrible date, and, I'd called him. I'd met this guy, he was actually a professor at a university, nearby, and we kinda hit it off, and I thought he was smart, and I liked him, and he was funny, and we went out for a date, and, I mean, he was wound up being really weird and creepy and I don't know, just a whole there was a whole night of events where, um, he didn't have a car, and
Yeah,
which is really weird in
yeah,
Oklahoma for you not to have a car because we don't really have public transportation,
right.
and so I'm like, "How do you not have a car?" And he's like, "Oh, well, I'm from California, and I didn't realize you had to have a car," and I thought, "Okay, that's
Yeah,
fair." And he wanted me to, take him back home. This date had already gone bad, like, we weren't going out again. I was like, "I'll take you home because I'm nice, but, that's it." And then he started getting really weird in my car, and I thought, "Why did I put this dude in my car when I
oh my
already know I
gosh.
don't like
Yeah.
him?" And, actually, it's my truck, so I'm in construction, so
Yeah,
I have
you're
all
a
this
construction gal.
construction
You're
stuff,
yeah.
right. So he piles into my truck, and we get about 3 blocks down the road, and he's acting really weird, and I told him, I said, "Dude, like, here's the deal. We're not gonna go out again. You're creepy as shit. Like, you can't be that way. Like, I'm not going out with you again, but I'm just giving you some advice. Like, don't stand outside the bathroom door when somebody goes to the bathroom. That's weird. Like, don't do that.
That's weird.
And don't ask for a ride home after the date, especially after you didn't pay for it. I had to pay for everything because I don't know, his card wasn't working, so I had to pay
Yeah.
for the whole date. I mean, it was the whole thing was just messed up.
Yeah.
And, he started telling me that I was a player. He was like, "I think you're just a player," and I thought, "You know what? You're making me uncomfortable." He wouldn't get out of my car, and I said, "You're making me really uncomfortable,
Oh my
and
gosh.
I feel like this is what's gonna happen. I'm gonna give you 3 seconds to get out of my car, or I'm gonna kill you right there in that seat." And I pulled out a Sawzall blade that was, like, 12 inches long, and I just, like, 3, 2, and he jumped out of the car. And I called Lee, I was like, "Dude, I'm not dating anymore. Like, I'm done." Like, I
I
almost
was
killed the
wondering
guy.
when Lee was gonna, like, step into this. I didn't know if he
I
was, like,
was
gonna pop
like
out behind the light pole or something
I
like
was like, "Dude, I'm done." Like, I almost killed a guy tonight. I was like 2 seconds away from killing a guy. And I
Mm,
said, I already had it all mapped out in my head, everything I was gonna tell the police. Like, I had run through that whole scenario about how all of this was gonna go down after I killed a guy in my front seat of my truck. And, um, and the
uh,
funniest part I think about that whole story is the guy texted me the next day. He's like, "I guess we're not gonna go out again." I was like, "Are you freaking serious right now?" Like, this is the reason why people can't date. Like, it's because crazy people like you
yeah,
on the
yeah,
internet. Like, I
yeah,
literally almost killed you last
yeah.
night. I don't think you understand how close to death you were. Like, for
Oh,
real. I mean, you know, my brother is a highway patrolman, and he told me that most women, wind up dying in a situation like that because they hesitate. And, I thought, I'm not hesitating. Like, I'm
yeah.
totally gonna kill this guy. And I
Well,
would have. But
luckily you
I'm
had the
glad I didn't
Sawzall.
have to.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no kidding. This really gone down a dark path from SEO.
It was crazy. But, Yeah, after that, I was done. I thought I'll just be single. It'll be fine. Lee was actually in a relationship with somebody. He was
Uh,
engaged to get married, and so I never really thought, like I said, I never thought about dating him or anything. And so I can't share what university.
yeah.
I
Pamela,
can't
you and
share.
me both. I'm like,
I
what
know. I he's
school?
not teaching there anymore.
Keep my
Uh,
kids away. Yeah.
yeah. And no, but it was scary because I thought that same thing, Pamela. I was thinking he's out there with 18, 19-year-old girls.
Right.
Holy
Yes.
crap. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
I have connections at this university, so I made some phone calls, and
Yeah. Good.
he's not
Good.
there anymore. Um, anyway, so
All
Lee
right.
wound
So
up,
at some point, you and Lee
yeah. So
connect,
Lee and I connected, probably a year maybe after that.
right?
He broke up with his girlfriend,
Yeah.
and then he asked me out. It was kind of
Uh-huh.
a surprise
Right.
thing, and I didn't. It caught me off guard. I didn't know what to do, and but we decided to give it a try, and
Yeah. There you are. All right. So how did you, was Lee doing SEO then? How did you get into SEO from
you
construction
know what's
girl?
funny is that I had no idea what Lee did for a living. I had
Well,
no
I
idea at
I
all.
I've been married to my wife for 20 years. She has no clue what I do either.
Right, right. And even after we got married, I had no idea what he did. I just knew that he worked in his office all day doing computer stuff, and that's literally all I knew about what he did. Now, he would come home and talk to me about stuff,
Uh,
like ranking people and
yeah, yeah.
map stuff, and I was like, "Blah, blah, blah. All right." I didn't understand anything he was saying. And, I didn't have a website for my business, for my construction business.
Alright.
And I was busy and I didn't want any more business. I
Yeah,
was 100% referral and I didn't get any business from the web. And it probably drove him crazy, but he never said anything. But when I don't know, starting in 2019, I was getting super burned out. I was working lots of hours.
yeah.
I was really busy, and then 2020 hit, and supply chain issues and people.
Pandemic
I don't
and
know,
yeah,
just the pandemic hit, and then just people's attitude just changed.
uh,
People became more hateful and mean.
mm,
And I mean, it just got really, construction's already hard to be in.
mm,
You know, I've been doing it for 30 years, so it's not like it was a new thing for me. So it was a really dramatic change
mm.
in the way people just treated other people, including me. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
they were very demanding, like, why can't my stuff get done? I'm like, I can't control the fact that we have tile on back order
right.
for 6 months and that we can't get glass for
Yeah,
windows and we can't get tile. Like, I don't control any of that. And so it just caused a lot of hardship and stress. I was under
mm.
so much stress. I was just getting sick, really. And Lee said, "Why don't you just stop doing that and come and work with me?" I was like, "I don't even know what you do." And he was like, "I do SEO." And I was like, "I don't even know what that is." What's SEO? Like, I am literally every question your clients have about SEO, that was me. I had no idea what it was or why it was important or why anybody needed it. I didn't know because I
Mm,
had business. I got business without advertising,
right, right.
really. And so it was a whole new concept to me. I mean, I
Yeah,
understood that people had websites, but for me, a website was just one more thing to have to keep up with, which I wasn't
right.
interested in doing. And I didn't realize that you could pay other people to take care of your website for you. That's how
Really?
in the dark I was about the
Yeah,
whole
yeah.
process. Anyway, so he said, "I will teach you everything that you need to know." And I said, "Well, we'll give it a go because I hate what I'm doing now." I wrapped up my
Uh-huh.
jobs, and I didn't really shut my business down. Like, it's still technically operating, although I'm not doing any work. Because it's sort of always been like
Yeah,
my
yeah.
backup plan. I'll jump back into it if I need to.
Yeah, this SEO thing doesn't work out.
Yeah, this SEO
I
thing
can
doesn't
still
work
go
out.
pound a nail. I can still go hang some drywall if I need to.
Yeah, I'll jump back into that. But he kept me very secluded. He
Huh.
wouldn't let me really talk to anybody else. He wouldn't let
Mm,
me, get into any of the SEO groups out there. He kept me very secluded, which I hated. I hated that.
mm.
I was a very social person, and all of a
Yeah,
sudden I felt
yeah.
like I was locked down. I wasn't allowed to talk to anybody. But he wanted me to learn how to do SEO from him, and said there's a lot of people out there that say they know how to do
Mhm,
SEO, but I have a method that works. And I want to teach you what works. And I
mhm.
don't want you to listen to all these other people. And when I learned, it was like learning through a fire hose. And if anyone has been through Lee's training, it's just like that. It's it's like you're being waterboarded with information. It was horrible. It was horrible for me because I didn't even know you guys speak a whole different language,
Yeah, yeah,
right? There's a whole vocabulary around SEO that the rest of the
yeah,
world doesn't know or
yeah.
understand. And so I had to learn all that also. And Ted Kabitis was really super helpful. He was like, go to W3 schools,
Mhm.
learn about, do the HTML course, learn about HTML. And that really helped me understand, H tags and A tags that everybody throws around these words like everybody knows what they are.
Mhm.
And there's a whole bunch of people out there that have no idea what you're talking about when you're talking about a header tag or an
Right,
H
right,
tag or an A
right.
tag. I don't
Yeah,
know. That's a foreign language that
yeah.
you guys all use freely, among yourselves. And there's a bunch of people out there that have no idea what that is.
Yeah,
And so that's where I was. I was literally starting from having to learn a whole new language.
right.
But Lee knew from watching me work that I had the problem solving skills, that I thought outside of the box.
Mm,
Um, I had a reputation even in construction to solve problems that other people couldn't solve. So if they ran into an issue, they would call me. All right, call Honey and ask her what she would do to fix it. And I would fix the most random shit, you know. And so he knew that I had a natural ability to really kind of problem solve and see things differently.
mm.
And it's been a big asset, I think,
Yeah,
for
yeah.
SEO because it is a lot of problem solving, right?
It is, yes.
I mean, that's pretty much all it is.
Yeah, yeah,
Solving the
yeah,
problem of
yeah.
ranking.
Yes, and always tinkering like, "Well, what if we tried this?" And I know you like testing as well and,
Yes. And
like
that's
playing
how
that
he got
arena.
me started,
Yeah,
let's set up some test pages, and I wanna
yeah,
teach you how to set up tests and how to run them so that you can see what works for yourself,
mm,
and you're never dependent on listening to somebody else tell you what works and what doesn't work.
right,
I'll
right,
teach you a way to test it to see if it works or doesn't work, because there's so many variables that come into play, a lot of times with SEO, and there's things that take, like, a long time to work.
right.
Right? So
Yeah,
you might
yeah,
have made a change yesterday, but what caused your ranking boost
right.
might have been something that you did a month ago.
Yeah,
So separate testing, outside of what you do on a live site helps determine that, because we can determine, how long it takes for something to work. So
mhm,
we know, oh, it's going to take, you know, 3 to 4 weeks for, a press release to to boost. It's gonna take, this much time, 4 weeks for cloud links
right,
to work. Like, we kinda have those timings down, in a lot of ways that help know what's working and what's not working.
right.
Like, today, I was looking at, some different Skype groups, and they were talking about changing the XF data and putting schema inside the XF data and all this kind of
Right.
stuff of thumbnails. And we've tested that, right? So I talked about this in at the conference at SEO Spring Training, this year, just last month
Right.
or this month, earlier this
Well,
month. Wow,
earlier, yeah,
right?
a few weeks
Earlier
ago.
this month, a
Yes.
couple weeks
Yes.
ago.
Yeah.
Because people want to know, does XF data work? Yes, it does. But Google doesn't read it all the time,
Mm,
so sometimes it's not a quick, fix. Like right now,
right.
it appears to be working, but that means that Google is reading that data. We did a
Right.
test that we started in like March or April, um, and it took until December for it to be read by Google.
Mm,
So what we discovered is that there's different systems that read the EXIF data in in images that's separate from reading content like on pages. So
so different
content,
different Google bots or
yes, hmm
ah, that's
yeah.
interesting. And
So
so
it
maybe the image bots don't come to your site and crawl nearly as frequently as some of the other content bots?
well, the bots that read, that EXIF data, which that takes a lot more power. It's
Mm,
just not done as regular. It might only be done a couple of times a year. And when it's done, then you'll see a boost,
mm,
right? But until then, you won't.
mm.
So what I tell people is like, yes, you can do it, but is the juice worth the squeeze
Right,
on that?
right.
Because it's a lot of work and it doesn't help immediately. So maybe you would do it if it's in a super competitive, niche, or you're trying to do something that's a little harder for people to see,
Right.
other SEOs,
Now
then
does
it'd
it
be beneficial.
so let me ask you this as well, because I do wanna get into kind of what you talked about at SEO Spring Training a little bit. But when you're kind of talking about this and the images with some of the XF information or schema on the images, does it also differ, or does it matter on where those images are being utilized? Meaning, like if it's on a standard website, I get that. Or if those images with that data, with the XF data, if you're loading that, say, into your GBP profile and on, for your maps photos and images, will that get read sooner or more frequently than if it is just on a website?
Um, I think the EXIF data, it doesn't matter whether it's on your website, if it's on your map listing or any. I don't
Mm,
think that it matters. I
mm,
don't. I think that they have like a rendered indexing system that reads that information, crawls the whole web,
right.
wherever it might be, that reads that information. That's that's my theory, is that that's how that
Interesting.
happens.
Yeah.
Um, so that doesn't happen on the regular. It only happens like a couple of times a year. And so when it's done, it's great because it's in. But just imagine if you make a change to it, let's say that you do it wrong and now you're trying to fix it, it might take another 6 months for them to come around back
Right.
to it to fix it.
Yeah.
So to me, um, I'm very careful about using those kind of techniques unless I'm 100% sure that I've got it spot on.
Right.
Which we do stuff so fast, we make a million mistakes, because we're running 100 miles an hour.
Oh, yeah.
And when you do that, you screw things up. And so I
Yeah.
like to be able to go back and fix it really quick.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so here's what I know
Yes,
works.
when possible, right? Yes.
Yeah, when
So, I
possible.
yeah, yeah, I don't even know. So when you're saying you're going 100 miles an hour or so,
Mm.
yes, similar. I didn't even realize we put up the promo, for you being on the show yesterday, and then because I looked at it, my graphics guy sent me the image, they're like, "Okay, that looks fine." Boom, and set it up. We put it up, and then somebody messaged me like, "Hey, I think Honey's name is misspelled." I'm like, "Oh my god, what?"
I didn't even notice.
Yes, and so yes, and so you gotta see this. I'm like, "Shit." Yeah, and so we fixed it, as quickly as we could. But yeah, just,
That's funny.
you fix it and, like, move on, like, "Oh, well."
Yeah, you just fix it and move on.
Yeah,
It's an easy
well,
fix.
yeah,
But what I like to do with images that I think is way more powerful and works a whole lot faster is I like to name my images using the keywords um, on the page.
mm,
So I'm not telling you anything that you don't know, but there may be some people that don't really understand this. So when you're looking at a website, what you see on the website and what you read, that's really for people. Like
right,
Google doesn't read that page. We all know that, right? Like they read, if you look at view source and you see the HTML, that's what Google reads. So there's a whole lot of space, areas in there that you can use that Google reads that helps them understand what your page is about,
right,
right? So image names are one of those areas that Google reads, and like the alt text, in images. So those are areas that are read. And if you go into your source code, a lot of times that image name will be repeated like 3 times
mm,
because they'll have it like different sizes. Like, oh, the image is this size. And if
right,
it's on
right,
mobile, it'll be this size. And if it's on a tablet, it'll be this size, right? Because you have it to where
right,
your site is sort of mobile ready. And because of that, it repeats that image name 3 times.
yeah,
It has the image name when it's on the desktop. It has the image name when it's on, so it'll be image name this size, image name this size, image name this size, based on what screen they're reading it on.
right,
So those keywords get repeated 3 times. And Google reads all of that. So they're like, oh, this image is about an emergency plumber,
right,
you know. And so you can put all that information in there. And so what I do is I pre-write all of the image names that I think are going to be used on a site. And I make sure that all those names have like the keyword that has the keyword variation. It has some entities, it has some LSIs, especially words that are hard to get into the content without it being really weird. I'll
right,
put those in the image name,
yeah,
right? And I create the image name before I ever have an image, when I'm,
right,
and so when we send it over to the VA, it's like, whatever the title of the page is, if it's emergency plumbing page, then all of those images start with emergency plumber and then a whole list of other words. If it's, you know, if it's the electrical page, it'll be, residential
right,
electrical, commercial electric, HVAC, whatever the page is, that's what. So, like on plumbing sites, we might have an emergency plumbing page. We might have a drain cleaning page.
right,
We might
right.
have a sump pump page. So it'd be sump pump, a whole bunch of stuff. Water, hot water tanks, whole bunch of information.
So is
And
this the image name and not the description or the alt tag? This
no,
is in the file name.
this is the file name.
Mm,
So it'd be like emergency dash plumber dash services dash,
mm.
you know, uh, plumbing dash emergency dash
Is there a
dot
capacity of, like,
JPEG.
how long this title, or this file name could be?
Um,
'Cause all of a sudden you were, like, going like, "Well, we use the word and then what some entities." I'm like, "Wow, so how long can
how long
this,
are these names? They can be a
yeah.
paragraph long. I've had them be a paragraph long. Um, they can get pretty long. I would say the downside to having a super long image name is it takes longer for it to load some reason,
Yeah.
like the image to load.
Huh.
And so the image name will show up on the page while the image is loading. You got to be careful about that. So I try to keep it around 20 words. Is that a lot?
That's
That's a lot
well,
of words.
Depends. I mean, I've seen some of these file names like dog, dog one, dog two, right?
Well, exactly, and, the thing is it makes it a whole lot easier, like, if we have a bunch of images, I can name them real generic, like, I could
Mm,
name it, all of these I can use the exact same image on 3 different pages, but they'll have 3 different image names, and so to Google, those are 3 different images,
right.
even though it's the same image,
Yeah.
and those are the images that go on that page, and it just boosts the relevance of what that page is about via the image name, and that's just less content that I have
Yeah.
to put on the
Yeah.
page,
All right.
which keeps the page a lot cleaner
Right.
looking, for me,
And
makes
so
it
you
easy.
so you hit the image name. Now this is something and just knowing you and Lee, you guys like to test. I mean, so this is something you've tested. You've run
Oh,
it through the course and you're like, "Hell yeah, this works."
yeah.
Yeah. All
Yeah,
right.
it
All right.
100%
Yeah.
works. Yeah.
I take you for your word. I'm like, "Okay, if you said so, I'm gonna
But
change
I
our
but I tell
method."
people, like, if you wanna test it, this is how you test it. So, you make up, like, a 12-letter word
Right?
and put it into Google and see if that 12-letter word shows up with
Just
anything.
some gibberish, right? Yeah,
Just some
some
gibberish, just, like,
yeah,
throw it
yeah,
in there.
Laura Ipsum,
Make
right,
sure that
whatever.
it doesn't come up with any kind of, suggestion or,
Right, right.
if it comes up with the little monster fishing, you're like, "Okay, this is a good test word."
Yeah.
And you put it in your image name, and then, you upload your image to the website, and then you go and you search for that word, and you see if the image comes up in search.
Now, how long does that take you generally in your kind of testing? Because I know we've already talked about how frequent these image bots may come and
Well,
look. I mean,
on image names, it happens just like it does with content,
hmm,
right? So the second your stuff gets indexed, or crawled, it shows up.
okay,
So I've had it happen in hours.
okay, all right, all right,
Yeah.
all right. So good
So
test. All
it's a
right,
good test because you don't have to wait a long time for it to happen.
yes.
You
So
just have
the
to know
impact
that it's
there
gonna
is not
crawl.
even about ranking the image. Then it's about the relevance that that image and the name of that, the file name of the image, the relevance that it is providing Google in describing the page, the content on the page, because it really is
Exactly.
it really is a tactic to help drive the ranking of the page, not necessarily the image.
Correct.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
nice.
correct. So, but it can show up in the image search,
Sure. Yeah,
pretty easily.
yeah.
Um, so we all have those clients where it takes forever to get content approved,
Mm,
right? You need these keywords on the page, but you can't get the client to let you put them on there.
right.
Right? We all have those. It's like,
Yeah,
"Hey, you have to, you're a plumber, we have to use the word plumbing on your page." "Oh, I don't wanna use
yeah.
the word plumbing,"
Right, right.
"We're drain specialists." It's like, "Dude, you are a freaking plumber.
Dude,
Like,
you're a plumber.
we have to put it on there." And they're like, "No." Well, you can do that with images, right? That word that you need on there, that
Mm,
keyword that you need on there to make Google understand that this is what this page is about,
right,
you can put
right.
it in the image.
Yeah,
And then it's a win-win. You don't have to have it approved by the client.
right.
You don't have to have it in their content. You can put it in the image name.
Yeah. What do
And
you think is more impactful, the image name or the alt tag and description or,
I would
between those 3?
I don't use the description shows up a lot of times on the well, I guess that's the caption.
Yeah,
Um, I think the image name is probably I think they're equal. I say the image name is more powerful because it repeats itself 3 times.
right.
Therefore, it becomes more
Yeah.
powerful
Yeah,
because
because the alt tag, on the image is not going to
no, and
yeah,
the alt text is something that's read by screen readers,
mm,
and so that's
mhm,
an area that's specific for people who, use screen readers because they don't see well on
right.
their computer. So that's an area that you have the unique opportunity to speak directly to those people, right? And it's sort of like, hey, we're the plumber that you need to call for this emergency. This is our phone number.
Right.
Like, you don't have to worry about trying to get through the rest of the page. You can put that right in your header image, which is the first one that shows up. It's like, yeah, you've reached an emergency plumbing page,
Call us.
you know, for Tulsa, Oklahoma. Here's our phone number. Give us a call.
Mm,
Like, you can put that right in the alt text, and then you're dealing with somebody now that doesn't have to read through the whole page to try to find out how to get a hold of you, right?
right.
When somebody needs an emergency plumber, they don't care about all the shit you have on your page. They want to know if you're, come out. They might want to know your pricing, you know, and,
Right. Right.
if you're truly 24/7. And that's all they want to know. And so you can give them all that information in the alt text in just a couple of sentences. And that also, by the way, still helps, with ranking your page.
Right.
Like, those
Yeah,
are
because
all
that information is popping up in the HTML in the
it
when you
is.
do the source code. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, I put a really unusual phrase one time. Craig Campbell.
I like that it elicits a laugh from you. I know. Hey, Krager. How you doing, buddy? Yeah.
So, yeah, we have some funny stories. He's a great guy. He
He
really
is
is.
he is.
Yeah. Um. So what? I don't even remember what I was talking about now. I got distracted by Craig.
About the alt tag stuff.
Oh, the alt text. um. So the alt text, that's you can see that under the page. I put a random phrase in an alt text one time just to see if it would show up, and it was on an affiliate site, and it's like, does this item cost a crap ton? A
Right.
crap ton, because you don't see that phrase out there a
That's
lot,
an
and
Oklahoma phrase.
that's an Oklahoma phrase. Like, does that cost how much does that cost? It costs a crap
Crap ton.
ton. That's how much it costs. And so I had put that in the alt text to see if that was the only place it was in. It wasn't in the
Yeah.
content. It wasn't in an image name. It was only in the alt text. Would it, show up? And it did. Like, it brought my page up to number one. Oh, this item cost a
The
crap
crap
ton.
ton.
Number one. Oh, yeah. So I know that it works.
Hmm.
So those are all easy things to test.
Well, and especially when you're kind of taking all three of those areas of your image, name, file name, alt text, and description,
Hmm.
kind of with a strategic approach on what it is that you're wanting to salt that content with in those areas, right? To be able to, yeah, I could see that that would be impactful. Do you do the same thing? So when you were saying you map out the file name, do you do the same thing with the alt text in the description? So like, here's an
Oh
image. It's going to be on this drain services page.
yeah.
We're,
Hmm.
we're going to have 5 images on here. Here's the name. Here are the 5 details of these images. I don't know what the hell the image is going to be, but
Right.
when we
Yeah.
get them, this is the info you're going to put on.
Right. It
Mm,
all goes into a spreadsheet. Like, we use Excel spreadsheets a lot. So
yeah,
it's like, column B, image
right,
name, alt
right,
text. And
right,
so we put all that in there. And I usually do, 20 or 30, image names per page, so they can just choose,
right.
which ones we might, want to use.
Yeah,
And we have a bunch of extras so we don't, wind up duplicating, anything. And so we take full advantage. And like, the logo should always be the company name dash logo. I mean,
right,
that's just another way to get your brand name
right.
out there, and it's super easy.
Yeah,
Um, the other thing is that, people say, well, I mean, I can't. What about a site that already exists? Changing the image name can kind of mess up a lot of things. And I thought it's a little more challenging when the page already exists. but you can test it to see how it's working. You can make your image, you know, size like really small, like 1 pixel by 1 pixel on the page, and just put it down in the bottom and see if it boosts the page. And if it does, then it's worth putting that image, to where it can be seen
Mm,
on the page, maybe.
mhm,
Or
mhm.
maybe not. Just leave it tiny. Like, who the
Just
hell
leave it.
cares?
Yeah, right, right. Yeah,
You know,
a one by
who
one a
cares?
1 by 1 pixel image, that's like a period on the page. I mean,
It
I would
is. It's
I would just
100%.
put it yeah, I'd just put it as a period somewhere in the middle of the page or in
It's
the
100%
top third, yeah.
how that can happen, and it just makes it a whole lot easier to get a whole bunch of image and
Yeah, yeah,
information on your page without cluttering your page with a mile of content.
yeah. That is really an interesting thought. I've never thought about because often what we have done is pull all the images off, you know, download all of the images, do
Mhm,
all of this work that you're describing, right?
mhm.
So that all of this is there, and then load those up, and
Preload
then
it back in.
swap out those images, and like that's a a crap ton of work
That's a crap ton of work.
to use your phrase, and And instead, like, well, why don't we just take the images and put them up and just swap out a period, make it a
Exactly.
1 by 1 and drop them in there somewhere. I
Yeah.
like that idea a lot better. Huh.
Yeah, it's just a whole lot easier than trying to change a
Mm,
bunch of stuff on the
mm,
page.
mm.
I mean, you can
Interesting.
still eventually
Yeah.
come and change it out, but, we're all trying to get quick wins,
Yes.
especially with new clients.
Yeah.
And, so that's a way to get some quick wins,
Hmm.
and get that information on the page really
Yeah.
quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that idea.
And it's
Uh,
also really
yeah.
easy to take it back off. Like if something happens
Right.
and it tanks the page, drops out of the index, you're like, "Oh, we'll
Right.
just remove that period."
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And then the client is like, I don't know what happened.
I don't know what happened. We're back though. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know either.
But
Um,
sometimes we take stuff a little too far. Like you can take it too far,
yeah,
you know. And if you take it too far, because Google will be like, "Oh, no, you've taken it
right,
too far.
right.
You're out."
Yeah,
And so it's real easy to remove at that
yeah.
point.
Well, any of those I'm very curious about this kind of 1 by 1, meaning 1 pixel by 1 pixel image kind of trick. Uh, do those images or would they ever rank as well as an image? Or are they too small to, I don't know how that,
That's a
like Google
great
may
that's
come
a
and
great
crawl.
question.
Yeah, like they're
How's
gonna
it
come and crawl a page and then, like, are they looking at any image? Doesn't matter what the size is. I mean, I don't think it
Oh, yeah,
I
they're reading the
yeah,
header right
exactly.
away,
So I'm
so
wondering, like, God, could you rank a 1 by 1 image and
that's a great question. That might be a quick test that I need to throw together.
yeah, that could be very interesting, I think. Wow. Alright, so
Yeah,
those are
because
some of
then at that
your,
point, it would look like a blank page, right? I can make
right.
it look like a blank page.
Yeah, and it wouldn't matter. So it could just accept a dot on there
Mhm.
because a 1 by 1 pixel image, you're not gonna see
Right.
that on a page.
Now, what you don't have with image names is you don't have the power that, like, header tags, like, you can't
Right,
put an H1,
right.
or any of that kinda stuff in there. So that doesn't work. People have asked me, can you, make an H1 in an alt text? I'm like, no, it's a
No,
text box.
right.
It's not a coded box the
Does it
way
matter as
WordPress is
well?
set
So,
up.
just for folks who are kind of tinkering around and thinking through this a little bit, does it matter where the image so in my mind, and we're thinking about H1s and such, so that header image is so critical.
Mhm,
And in my mind, I'm like, well, definitely we're going to apply these concepts to the header image because it's and I, I don't know. Logically, to me, it would seem like, well, that's probably your most important image because it's going to get read first, and I want to be able to communicate it immediately. But
mhm.
do you see? Does it really matter? Have you played around with tests? Like, does it matter if it's the header image or if it's like, above the fold or above the scroll or below? Does it really matter?
I think commonly we like to have it above the fold,
Yeah,
but it still gets read, even if it's at the bottom of the page.
yeah,
Because if you think about it, they read all the way down to your footer.
right, right.
We put shit in the footer all the time. I see
Yeah,
SEOs cram all kinds of shit in the footer. So we know it gets all the way to the footer.
right.
You know, I like to have it at the top of the page because I like Google to know instantly, you know, very quickly what the page is about.
Yeah,
And but yeah, I mean, I just started thinking about, a dashed line that goes all the way across. Can you think of how many images you could put in a dashed line
yeah.
all the way across the page? That's a lot of images.
That would be a lot. Well, one by one images, yeah. That would be a lot of images that you could throw in there. Uh,
But yeah, the thing is, when they get really small, there's a lot of people who like to do like OCR on
right.
an image where you can put like the company name on
Yeah,
a
yeah,
picture, and Google does read those. Um, Also, it takes a little bit longer for it to be read, and sometimes you'll use the wrong font
right, right.
or the wrong color or something that makes it harder to be read in OCR. But you can there's some places where you can test, you know, the Google OCR
Mm,
for free to see what it reads. Like you can
mhm.
put it in there. It's like I can't remember the name of the site. It's like cloud.google something,
Mm,
and it's an OCR test, and it'll tell you what
right,
it reads on the image
right.
if you're doing that method, and then you can see whether or not your font works well that you're using, or if the color is easy to be read, and that
Right.
kind of stuff. So
Yeah, yeah. I love it. It is something, and I'm glad we kind of went down this road about images because it is something I don't think I haven't. I have to be honest with you. I haven't. It's been several years since I probably had talked to anybody really about images and what you can
mhm.
do with images and the importance of, as you've, I think, eloquently kind of laid out. Hey, this actually is provides a bearing of and supporting your page and ranking. So
Right.
it's worthwhile and not necessarily doing all that EXIF data stuff. That takes a lot more time. That's a
That
lot
takes
more
a lot of
effort.
time. Most
Ah,
clients don't have the budget
yeah.
to deal with that kind of nonsense. Like you can be
Mhm.
doing other stuff that works a whole
Yeah.
lot better than spending your client's budget time on that. Now, if you want to do it for yourself, you're doing it for your own assets, then you can do whatever you want. It doesn't matter,
Right.
you know, and you don't care as much about the time.
Yeah.
But I was reading Craig's comment. So,
I was gonna just ask you about this because I know about this little competition. Were
mhm.
you using some of your image trickery, in that?
You know what? I wasn't. That's really where I learned a lot of what I did,
Uh,
of what I know now about images. Craig Campbell had with his mastermind group,
yeah,
was doing an image um, SEO competition. And we had found out about it, from someone else who had said, like, hey, do you want to crash this SEO competition? And I'm very competitive. So I'm like, hell yeah. And we learned a lot. We really did learn a lot
Mm,
in that competition about the power of images,
yeah,
um, about what you can do, how far you can take it, how quickly they rank. Like we built a brand new website, and this was during a period of time when all of the SEO groups were filled with, I can't get my page indexed. What can
right,
I do to
right,
get my
right.
page indexed? How comes nothing's indexing? And we bought a domain, built a website, and ranked it, you know, in 17 hours during a time when everybody says they couldn't get anything working.
Right.
And it was mostly done, with images. and a lot of things that we were doing in and around, you know, with images.
Yeah.
So, um, like YouTube's still really strong,
Yeah.
and that YouTube thumbnail
Yeah.
image, super powerful. Like that's
Yeah.
a very powerful zone
Yeah.
in YouTube, and that stuff gets indexed very, very quickly.
Very
And
quickly. And
very
changed over
quickly.
very like, we changed the image, so I
Mhm.
confess, like, we misspelled well, my guy left off the Y, so it was like H-O Hone,
Own
Hone, Hone Witcher, left off the Y, and so we swapped it out, and that thing was, like, nearly
instant.
instantaneous as when
Yeah,
I went in and, like, searched Honey Witcher, and then that
there it is.
new, YouTube thumbnail was already up and available. I'm like, "Holy crap, that
Yeah,
is"
super fast.
yeah,
I mean, that's a super fast,
yeah,
zone. But honestly, I mean, all credit to Craig. That's really what launched me down this path
mm,
of taking advantage of images in regard to SEO. I mean,
yeah,
it's a super powerful zone. It
yeah.
really is, and it's one that people ignore. And I'm actually glad that they ignore it because I win a lot because people ignore it.
Yeah,
So when people somebody
yeah.
comes to me and they're like, "Oh, that doesn't work." I'm like, "Okay, don't do it. I'm good if you
So
don't do it."
and I'm wondering now, and especially in today's world of AI and
Mhm.
generative, I would imagine that you guys have already probably concocted a method of automating all of that for you. I'm like, we're doing a plumbing site. Here are the keywords. Here's the location and geographic entities. And go spin out. I need a file names and, and description and all tags. Go.
Yeah.
You probably, I would imagine you're probably not spending a hell of a
Yeah,
lot
I
of
mean,
time
I
on that.
I have an AI tool that I built that's like my bulk image name generator.
Yeah.
And I just put a list of the words that I want to use, and it spits out a variation of all of those words in
Mm,
as many I can do 100 if I want to.
mm,
And it'll spit out all those image names for me and put the JPEG, at the end of
right.
it, like the whole
Right.
thing's written with the dashes, everything's
Yeah. Yeah.
lowercase, it puts it all in the correct format. And
Nice.
I mean, that's just a push of a button.
Yeah.
Like literally like,
You wouldn't mind sharing that little tool with semi-known bald, YouTube guy.
yeah, I mean, I don't mind. I wonder if I can find it. Let's see.
That is great. Well, I just know, and so I know as well you've done, AI. Are you guys utilizing a lot of AI, kinda generative kinds of things in
Um,
your
I
operations?
mean, we're testing a lot of AI
Yeah.
stuff. We're throwing up content, you know, and testing AI. I know that I did like a whole I really did a very extensive uh, research and testing on AI detectors.
Mhm.
So everybody was up in arms, you know, about AI detection, and Google's going to be able to detect AI and it's going to
Right, right.
punish you for that kind of stuff. And what I found is that what would you say is probably the best AI detection tool out there?
Uh, I don't know, Google. But,
Well, I mean, just of
uh,
tools
y
that people
y
of
yeah,
tools
that I
that
could
people
use.
buy.
The best I was trying to look at,
I mean, I
what is
think
it that we use? Well, I was gonna
originality
say, I think that's
AI.
the one. Originality AI is what we use. I also look at another one called the AI Detector, by 0GBT, if you've ever looked at that one.
I didn't hear you because Lee has coming
Was
in
that
my
Lee, being
blasting us.
crazy in there? Yes. Yeah, so, this is another one that I use, gpt.com. I'll put that in there in the description as soon as it pops up. I think I got to use my other keyboard.
Um,
gpt.com.
yeah. Yeah. So I tested that one too. And originality, AI knows that it boasts that it catches 99%
Right.
of AI. And I probably tested 10, 15 different tools out there. And some of them I even talked to the developers of them. I like talked to them about it,
Mm,
so I was saying, "Hey, I'm running a test. Do you mind if I use it?" That kind of stuff. So a lot of places let me use their tool for free for a period of time, to test it if I shared my results with them,
right.
because they were going to try to use that, to maybe improve their tool. But what happened was when I got back with some of the developers, they're just like, it's, we don't think that AI detection actually matters. So we're not even going to keep our tool updated. Like we're going to leave it out there, but we're not gonna make a difference. And here's what I would say to the AI detection community that thinks that it matters for SEO. Google has created its own AI, right? So
Right.
why would it punish AI and also offer it?
Right.
Like it just doesn't even make sense. Um, I tried to see if there was like some kind of hidden key or something that would be like a telltale sign. I couldn't find that to be true at all. Um, And I discovered that the AI detection tools, even that said that were 99% accurate, weren't 99% accurate,
Yeah.
you know? And I would use the same prompt, in different types of content generation. Like I used, Claude, I used Chat GPT, I used like a bunch of different AI tools to create
Right. Right.
content and then have it and then test it in all
And
these
then test
different.
it. Right.
So I tested it kind of across the board. And what I discovered was some of the older technology got detected really easily. Some of the newer ones, so when they come out with a new, version, like they have, Claude
Claude
Opus,
3 now. Yes.
whatever.
And then
Then I discovered that when
Llama.
you use that AI content, then that's not detected as well. And then the tools go and try to correct for it, right? And then it
Right. Right.
detects it. And then another version comes out, and then that
Mm,
one's not detected as well. And so it's this constant, cycle of, people trying to create the better content and that kind of stuff. And so with just straight out of the box, no altering the content going through these tools, it depended on what it was about. You know, if it was,
meaning what
like
the content was about.
what the content was about.
Yeah.
So if it was something that was designed to be creative, like a story, like a children's
Right.
story,
Right.
it doesn't detect it as AI as
Right.
accurately as it does if it's like a factual, you know,
Right. Yeah, if
like
there's
about
some
historical
if it's
events.
throwing out some kinds of a fact of, with, like, eh, 9 out of 10 people do X, if right, some kind of a fact with a, based off of something. Yeah.
Right. So if I took a an excerpt of some information that was created, like a historical document that was created before, AI was even a thought,
Right.
right? And, so let's say that I have an article about the Hundred Years' War, right? So I take that. And then if I go into AI and I say, hey, write me a report about the Hundred Years' War, and I have it write it out, it can kind of tell the difference. It does a pretty good job of detecting
Mm,
that. But if I, say write me a story in the style of Dr. Seuss, it doesn't detect it at all
mm,
as AI. It can't tell.
mm.
So it
Interesting.
really depends on what it is. But we're not finding that AI. written content makes a difference. We
Well, that's
almost
what I was wondering.
exclusively, I mean, I've got a page right now ranked for a difficult keyword
Yeah.
in 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 a bigger city, probably not, not like Los Angeles or New York or something like that, but a good sized city that's ranked number one for a very competitive keyword.
Hmm,
And the content on that page was written by AI.
hmm, yeah. I do think for you to be concerned about AI detection, you already have this cognitive bias that AI content is bad or negative
Mhm.
in the eyes of search. And I tend to agree with you. I'm not sure that Google necessarily is going to penalize you if you're
No,
utilizing
but this
AI
is what I can
generated
tell you.
content.
This is what I can tell you about AI content.
Yeah.
It's very flowery.
Right.
Elevate your,
Right.
your
And a
word.
lot of times it'll repeat, there'll be like some
Yeah.
redundancy of paragraphs and such,
So
but
I
you
know
can
there's a
eliminate
lot
that
of
stuff.
content writers
Yeah.
out there who, are like, "Oh, AI has eliminated my job." I said, "No,
Yeah.
AI gave you a promotion.
Yes.
AI gave you a promotion to editor.
Yes.
You're not a content writer anymore. You are an editor. And AI content needs to be edited,
Yes, it does.
because it comes out with some pretty hilarious stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it needs an editor to come in and, chop off a lot of the excess. And
Yeah.
that's what it really comes down to,
Yeah. Yeah.
is really
Agreed.
cleaning up your
Yeah.
information.
Yeah. Hey, Holly. Holly Bear, what's up? Coming in at the tail end here, Holly Starks, but it's good. Um, yeah, I think it's kind of interesting about the AI content. And I think there's certainly people that I know that have gotten clapped because they've put out AI content like hundreds of pages at a time on a site and just completely populated this thing. Um, and those sites have gotten hammered. But similar to what you're kind of describing with
But
ranking
here's
content
the
that you
challenge
had.
with that, right? I know other
Yeah,
people who have put out hundreds of AI content pages and didn't get hammered. So the
really. Yeah.
question is why? Why this guy and not this
And
guy,
not the other guy.
right? So those are kind of the things that you have to look at, and that's what we do when we're testing, right?
Yeah.
Test
Yeah.
like what was the trigger
Mm,
that made the content not good? Is it because you wrote about the same thing on multiple pages?
mm,
Because then you're just cannibalizing yourself, right?
right. Right.
Google's like, I don't know which
Right.
page to rank, so I'm not going to rank any of them because you got 100 of the exact same topic
Mm,
out here, and I don't know what to do with it, so I'm not going to rank any of it. As compared to somebody that's very methodical about you know, how they build their pages
yeah. Yeah.
the topical,
Topical
silos or
map.
whatever you want
Yeah.
to call them,
Right.
and keep it very clean as compared to people just throwing out complete garbage.
Yeah.
And also, I think it has a lot to do with how you develop your prompts. You
Yeah.
know, some prompts are going to create complete garbage and some
Yeah.
prompts are going to do better. What I did discover is that you can use the same prompt like 20 times and the quality of the content that you have that comes out of that exact same prompt is different. And
Hmm.
what's unique about that is that people who buy prompts, oh, I got the best prompt. Do you? I mean, is it the best prompt if you run it 20 times in a row? Because I can promise you that shit falls apart,
Hmm.
if you do it over and over and over again. And that's the reason why you'll hear people who use AI say, hey, sometimes you get to a point where you have to start a new chat because it
Right.
just starts
Right.
producing garbage.
Yeah.
And so you just have to start a new chat and start over again, and
Yeah.
then it'll do okay. But it does have a limit on how much quality it can give you at one time before you
Yeah.
have to start
Yeah.
over.
Oh, the challenges. Yeah, it's a very interesting age that we
Mhm.
are living in right now, especially in our industry and what we can and what things we'll be able to do in the future, and not even that distant of future. Even
Yeah.
automation is. right now I'm like kind of fascinated with automation and using AI to help automate various kinds of operational kinds of things in on our business. And yeah,
I mean, I think it's very important to at least dabble in it because
yeah,
it's here. It's not going away. That Pandora's box has been opened.
right. Yeah, oh yeah,
We can't put it away.
yeah,
So we you have to figure out how to monetize it.
yeah.
Or you will be one of these people who are like, I don't understand why I can't get any more clients. Well,
Uh, yeah,
you have to keep up with everybody else. And
I
it's
know.
it's a lot of work right now, and we're not
Yeah,
used to having to work that hard. You know,
I know
we'd
it.
kind of gotten into wanting to do like the 4-hour work week thing, and now we're having
Uh,
to learn AI, and that's like
that-
taking up
now you
our
actually have
whole.
to work four
Now we
hours a
have to
day.
work all week long. Thank God.
Oh, honey, so fun to talk with you. Listen, thanks for being on the show today. I appreciate it.
Welcome.
We're up, and I don't know. I was trying to find if people want to connect and reach out to you and talk more about image ranking and any of that. Where can they hit you up?
It's easiest to find me on Skype. I
Okay,
think I'm the only Honey Witcher on Skype, so I
okay,
should be pretty easy to find. I'm on Facebook. I think I'm also probably the only Honey Witcher on Facebook, and so unless
yeah.
somebody cloned my profile, but it has my picture on
There
there,
you
so
go.
it's pretty easy to find.
All right.
Um, and that's
That's good. All right.
how you
Well,
can find.
say hey to Lee for us, and,
Alright.
it was good he wasn't in kind of bugging you, and maybe he was, and yeah.
No, he wasn't.
All right. Next conference, what do you got coming up? Anything?
Um, well, I don't know. We've kind of put some stuff tentatively on our calendar. I mean, obviously, the next one we'll go to will be Rock Stars, which will be October or November. I'm not sure; it hasn't
Right,
been
right.
announced. If Craig Campbell's going to do digital unfiltered, we'd probably,
Yeah.
go to that. But I haven't
I
heard,
I don't I don't think
haven't
that's
heard
happening this
anything.
year. Yeah,
Haven't heard
that's not
anything.
happening this year. Maybe next year, I think, but not
Maybe
this year. Yeah,
if Holly Starks, did a dark AI, we'd definitely,
yeah.
be at Holly's
I
event.
know. Holly, if you're still on, that would be kinda nice to Holly, there could be a vacuum of conference, maybe like July could be a good, July, August could be a good, conference time.
But outside of that, I don't think that we're going to go to a lot of conferences. I just feel like,
Yeah.
the previous year we went to 9 conferences and
Mm,
it just made it really hard for us to get any work done.
yeah.
So we've cut back, this year. Obviously, we went to spring
Mhm.
training, which did not disappoint at
I
all.
love spring training. It is one of my
I,
favorite conferences. Yeah, yeah.
I don't know if he's still selling recordings or not, but if he is, you have to get them.
Man, there is
Like
some
there was some really great stuff.
yes, some really good
And you
stuff.
need the recordings to be able to
Yes, agreed,
get through it.
agreed. Yeah.
So
Um,
powerful.
yeah. So funny about conferences. So, I had thought about, I might try to grab and see if I can schedule out to go to Chiang Mai, for the conference. And then I saw Diggity yesterday sent an email out, "Hey, you opened, general ticket sales for Chiang Mai." That thing, and he even put up a follow-up, like a few hours later, sold out in 1 second.
Wow.
I'm like, yeah, okay.
Wow.
I'll have to figure out how I can get there, and get a ticket sometime.
That's
I don't know.
crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, every conference, organizer out there would love to know how that
Right,
happened
exactly, right? Yes.
as
I
they're
mean,
scrambling to get people to
geez.
come to conferences.
Yes.
That's amazing.
Yeah. But, all right. Well, honey, thank you so much. Good to talk with you, and, I don't know, we'll see you around probably see you at Rockstars. I think
Yeah.
I've got it on my calendar as well, some November kinda thing, so,
Yeah.
should be fun. All right. Well, listen, you take care. Say hey to Lee. And again, thanks a lot. And we'll see you soon.
All right. Bye.